What's up guys, and welcome back to another EVE Online video. Today we're back in JSpace in our Praxis this time, and we're running C3 combat sites in an alpha friendly Praxis. So what do I mean by alpha friendly? The whole fit, ship and all the modules and everything are usable by alphas. But I will just caveat with what we're going to see today with I'm still flying on WOD. He is Omega and he has quite a few skill points. So some of the stuff, I'm not running this as an alpha. So it's definitely an alpha friendly fit. I know from courtmates that this runs the sites no problem as an alpha account. But what you see today, DPS and tank and cap resist and that kind of stuff, and range, for example, missile range, might be higher for me than it is for you, so just bear that in mind as we go through. But we're in a C3, we're going to run a Fortification Frontier Stronghold, but this ship can run any of the C3 combat sites. And yeah, basically one of the really nice things about Praxis, especially if you're a newer player, is you can fit it to have basically any weapon system you want. Because you'll see the roll bonus, you got hybrid turrets, NG turrets, projectile turrets, heavy missiles, cruise missiles, torpedoes, drones, all bonused. So you can fit any missile system, weapon system you want on there. So it's super versatile, which is great. I've gone shield and missiles for this fit. So it will be linked in the description. But basically in the highs, we've got our missile launchers, which for alpha friendly is the Malkuth Heavy Missile Launcher 1. I need to keep descanning. I do have friends in system, but I need to keep descanning. And I also have a Drone Link Augmenter 1, which increases the drone control range. In our mids, we have 3 compact multi-spectrum shield hardeners. We have 3 compact copacetic compact shield boost amplifiers, 1, 2, 3. And then we have our extra large compact shield booster, which gives us a total shield boost of 240 HP a second, which is quite a lot. And then in the lows, to make this very cap stable, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Tech 2 capacitor flux coils and 2 drone damage amplifiers down here. I've chosen to, you could swap these out for ballistic control systems to boost your missile damage if that's where your skills are. I've chosen to go with drone damage amplifiers because the site has some frigates, and the heavy missiles will struggle to take out the frigates, so mostly the missiles are just kind of supporting our overall damage from the drones, which they'll support kind of more on the battleships. And then we have capacitor control circuits, 2 Tech 2s and a Tech 1 in the rigs. With my skills, this is a very, very cap stable ship. With everything running, it's comfortably cap stable. So if you've got good skills in the capacitor, you can swap out a capacitor flux coil for some additional damage. If I just pop this out in simulation, you can see we're still comfortably stable. I can put in the extra damage. DPS has gone up a fair bit, and we're still plenty cap stable. So if you've got good cap skills, you might want to swap that out. And I could, with my skills, I could actually do it again, and just keep pumping that DPS up, and the capacitor survives. So, just something to bear in mind and something to think about. You can speed up your site running times once you pump your skills up a little bit. You'll also note, I'm just going to warp into the site, and I'll cover this stuff in what I've got on my cargo hold in just a second. So, if we warp into a Fortification Frontier Stronghold, just warp in at 0. Make sure you get everything switched on. We've walked in at exactly 23:30 on the clock, so we'll time how long this takes. Let's get the right overview running. Drones, by the way, I've got full range, lights, mediums, and heavies. I will be using the lights for the frigates, but then trying to use the heavies for everything else, and we'll see how we get on with that. Okay, so when we've landed on the warp-in point, and I'm going to drop my mobile tractor unit here, and then I'm going to align to a celestial that is the other side of the site, which will allow us to just gently drift away from the warp-in point and be aligned whilst we go through the business of taking everything out. Okay, now let's go after these. So things like my drone control range will be higher than a lot of alpha accounts as well. So all just stuff to bear in mind. As we're cap stable, we can run this the whole time. Got nothing to worry about there. Yeah, as I was mentioning, we have dropped our MTU, which will pull in all of our wrecks for us. And then we're aligning to a celestial somewhere the other side of the site. So I've only got one option, which is over there. And we will now just slowly drift in that direction. And we'll stay kind of in range of all the rats while we do this. And the reason for that is if we see something on our D-scan, which we should be constantly D-scanning, and if you need any advice or tips and tricks on the basics of D-scanning, I will link a video in the top right that I've done a couple of weeks ago. Watch your drone aggro, the frigates will attack them, so watch that, and then pull them in if you need to. So that's what we've done there. I'm going to drop different ones out to see if we have a bit better application. Yes, so make sure you're D-scanning all the time, which is what's going on up here. And if you're aligned, if you see anything pop up in D-scan, just leave, just warp out straight away. There's no point risking the ship. It's not super cheap, especially if you're alpha. For what it does, this is a very cheap ship for running C3s, because the return is very high, but it's not a cheap ship, especially if you're an alpha account. So don't throw it away. Stay aligned, and if you see something you don't like the look of on D-scan, warp out as quickly as you can. And basically, if I now choose to warp to this thing, because we're aligned, we'll warp instantly, and then we're away. And you can come back and do stuff with your MTU later. They're going after my drones, so am I going to have to pull them back in? Sam. I should probably use my missiles. I know I said they just like are supporting, but I should use them. Come on, drone, don't do too much damage. I want to pick aggro up. There we go. Yes, so that's why we're aligned. And then what we've got with us is a mobile depot and some probe launcher and probes. So you're in wormhole space. Wormhole space is inherently dangerous. If you might find that you get yourself rolled in if you've been in here a little bit too long, or someone closes the wormhole behind you, or something like that. Then you need these to be able to scan your way back out. So what you'll see, why we have the mobile depot, we can warp to a safe spot, which we would create along our warp, and then anchor the depot, fit the probes and probe launcher, and then leave. One of the challenges of an alpha account, and this is a big challenge, is the inability to fit cloaking devices to your ship. In J-Space, cloaking is so important, and you can't do that as an alpha. So if you're not an alpha, you should also travel with a cloak. So I would ordinarily have a cloak in here, but I'm making sure the fit is fully alpha friendly. So the site itself, you saw we had 2 frigates, 2 cruisers to start with. The triggers for the first wave are the cruisers, which is why I check out the frigates first. The frigates also web, so helps you with a little bit of agility. I will link below the EVE University wiki, which gives you information on all the triggers and things. But it's a really useful tool, and yeah, you just use that to find out what the triggers are. So in the next wave, which we'll open up in a second, it's 4 cruisers, and the upholders of the trigger, which makes things a little bit challenging, because the upholders, which we'll see now, these 2, they newt, so they affect your capacitor, but you have to take them out last because they are the trigger for the site. Drop them again. Upholder, upholder. But you can see none of the ships are very big in this site. There's just one battleship in the final wave, which is why we've prioritized the damage coming from our drones over the damage coming from our missiles. The application is just better. Also, because you're only able to use Tech 1 missiles, absolutely very much recommend you use the faction heavy missiles themselves. So the Caldari ones are quite well priced for what they do. They have significantly more damage than the Tech 1 missiles. They apply better. They're just a little bit more expensive, but not much so that it makes a difference. And this is basically the site. You'll notice I just keep descanning, keep going. So my ally is left. So now if anything else pops up on here, we need to be very conscious of that. But we just work our way through these ships. We did the first wave. We've been doing this now for 7 minutes, so we're getting through it at a relatively good pace. Hopefully we speed up a little bit, but I think we should be targeting about a 15-minute clear time for these. And the site is worth 41.1 million in blue loot, which means if you have 15 minutes, you can run 4 of them, which means you can pull in 120 million an hour doing this. It's high risk, you are in J space, but 120 million an hour as an alpha in a ship that costs about 360 million is pretty good. So you need 3 hours to pay off the price of the ship, and then you're just making money. And if you lose it, but you've already made the money, great, go get another one and go again. But you do need obviously 3 hours worth of sites, right? You need 12 sites to be able to do that, and they definitely exist. There are plenty of wormholes out there, C3s, that have lots of combat sites available when you land in them. I mean, this one on its own, my friends just run one, but there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 when we got here. So that's 2 hours worth to run in this system, and this is not an unusual system. So you can easily do this. The other nice thing about C3 wormhole running is all C3s have a K-space static. And what that means is every C3 is always connected to K-space in some form or other, whether that's high sec, low sec, or null sec. The most common type is, the most common type is a low sec, but I think there's about a third, no, less than that, so about 25% of all C3s have a high sec static, which means there's a pretty good chance of wormholes you scan in high sec being connected to C3s. There are also either that or they're connected to C1 or 2 as well. But yeah. So for this wave, I'm going to start with the battleship because it's got big nuke pressure and big DPS. So you'll see the tank struggling just a little bit, not much, but just a little bit, because the battleship does hit quite hard with its alpha. So every now and again we just get chunked down and then we rep it back up. So we're going after that ship first because there is no trigger, this is the final wave. And then we'll come back and then we'll take on the rest. And we shouldn't take too long to get through it. It also has some nuke pressure, so when you see whether or not your ship is cap stable, you also want to anticipate some incoming nuke pressure just to make sure. What I didn't mention is when you drop your MTU, you will also want to bookmark it so that when you finish the site you don't slow boat back to it, you warp off to your Celestial and then come back and warp to your bookmark on the MTU. That will save you a lot of time. All of the cruisers swapped to my drones, so this drone is in some trouble. I wasn't paying enough attention because I was making my bookmark, and they are webbed, I believe, which means they're going to get hit hard on the way back. Is he going to make it? Yeah. I would just like him to hurry up so I can drop my other drones down. There we go. So far in this site, when I've had my medium drones out, they've not picked up any aggro from the cruisers. When I've had my heavy drones out, they've picked up aggro from the cruisers quite quickly. So that might be something to consider. I don't know if that's a hard and fast rule, but your heavies are more likely to pick up aggro than anything else. So even though their DPS is higher, and relatively significantly to be honest, the time you have to spend not having them on grid because you're putting them back in might negate that DPS, additional DPS. So we're nearly through the battleship, so then we'll go... I should have gone Preserver first. Yeah, I didn't read the notes, the site properly. It's not making a tremendous difference, but this cruiser, the one that's called Preserver, they remote rep the other ships. So they will be doing a little bit of remote repair on the Sleepless Upholder, which is obviously wasting a little bit of time for me. So should have gone for the Preserver first, and then for the battleship second. Providing your tank and capacitor were holding up. If they weren't, then just take out as much DPS as you can as quickly as you can. We're at 12 minutes, so we should be at about the 15-minute mark when we clear this. We will see. And as I mentioned, you saw even under the heavy nuke pressure, my capacitor held up absolutely fine. So with my skills, I would swap one of the capacitor flux coils for a ballistic control system just to support my missile damage. And if your skills, with your skills, you see that you're also holding up very well under the capacitor pressure, then I recommend doing the same thing. Three more ships. New signatures just spawned. So I'm just going to tell my corp mates. Now again, if you're being particularly safe, you should probably warp off, leave grid now, because a new signature spawned. Leave grid now, and make yourself either safe or get your probes on, so that you can then scan down and find out what it is. If it's like a relic site or something, no problems, carry on. If it's a wormhole, then you'd need to go and find out basically whether it's a K connection, because if it's a K connection, then there's a good chance that someone has just jumped into this system. And that's why we get concerned when a new signature spawns. There's every chance that there's now probably just an explorer, but there's someone has entered system, is jumping around to find out what's going on. We'll see the Praxis, call their friends, and you might have a fleet on you very quickly. Because I'm recording and I'm willing to take the risk, I'm obviously taking that risk and I'm not leaving. But I just want you all to be aware that it is an additional risk if you see a new signature and you stay on grid. But we have one more to go. And we're nearly there. And that will be 40 million in... We've just hit the 15-minute mark. So in this case, it's going to take us about 16 minutes. But once you get that little bit more efficient, I haven't run C3s for quite a long time. And I've been obviously talking and not paying super attention to what I'm doing. So if we get that little bit more efficient, 15 minutes should be no problem. And yeah, then you can do 120 million an hour, which my maths has just completely let me down. I've just realised over the course of that. It's 41 million per site, and it would be 4 sites per hour, so it's 160 million per hour. Apologies, I'm sure some of you heard me do that math at the beginning and were tearing a hair out. It's 160 million per hour. So with the extra minute it's taken me to do this, let's say it's 150 million per hour if you do this. So 2.5 hours will pay for the ship, which is not bad. And then you're away, right? You paid for your ship, you've got no worries in the world, and you're making 150 million an hour. So drones will come in. There's just 2 wrecks for that to pull in, so that's quite good. So drones are here. We've got our Celestial. So we're going to warp to it, and you'll see instant warp. So that is what would happen if someone jumped in on us, instant warp. What you can do instead of it necessarily being a Celestial is you can set up a safe. And you can try and set up a safe bookmark kind of always behind your sights, and then you can align to that safe, that bookmark, which is always quite good to do. And now we are warping back to MT1. Just my court mate was saying he was going to come and scan the new signature for me, but again, those of you watching with eagle eyes have probably realised I made up that TFA was new. You can actually see we've already got it bookmarked up here. It's a C4 connection. But that might mean is something else new. What do we got? CNZ, DLF, OZM, TFA, and ZRQ. So we've got everything scanned down. So there's no problems there. So what I normally do, but didn't today, is everything that we've already got bookmarked you remove, and that way when a new signature spawns it's very clear that it's there. So here we have it, 41 million in blue loot. You just take this to an NPC station and sell it. There's a few dotted around the place, so just when you're in K-space, just go view market details and you'll just find the buyers that have the highest value. And that's it. There we have it, guys. So I hope you found that helpful. I wouldn't describe it as super accessible for a new player, but it's definitely something you can aspire to as a new alpha player. If you invest your skills in the right way, your skill points, and build up a little bit of cash reserve so that you can buy this ship, then you can absolutely go and dive into wormhole space, run these sites, and make really good money. If you're going to do this though, please do check out other videos on my channel about how to sort of like survive and get on in wormhole space, and a bunch of elements of JSpace that I've not covered in this video that are covered over there. So check out the rest of my channel. Please consider subscribing, liking the video if you've enjoyed this, and I will be bringing you more of this kind of content carrying on forward. Thanks very much for watching, guys, and I will see you all in the next one. Cheers.